One thing I kind of watch for is sparks whenever I'm sawing, and the sparks will usually come from right here, from these deals. The blade will be pushing back a little too far. Maybe these have gone out of adjustment, or maybe it's missing. Maybe it's gone, completely. Maybe it's broke or just fell out missing. Then also, whenever I see sparks, I stop. I mean sparks in excess of normal. There will always be a few sparks, but I'm talking about a lot. And you can always tell when there's way too many sparks. You can see the saw was still cut perfect. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I take the blade off and I check this to make sure this is good and tight. And when I went to check this one, you can see how it's loose. Matter of fact, if I sit here and played with it, I could move it all over the place. It had just gotten loose, and that happens. I mean, they get loose like that. It's just a simple matter of tightening it up. And while I was here, I went ahead and because I knew this one was bad, and this here is the well, there it is. Fix to say, darn, lost that joker. This is this piece that sets on the back down at the bottom, the little ceramic thing. Now I've had this mill since they first started selling them, maybe the first month they sold them. And in that time, I don't know how long it's been, 10 years maybe or something. I don't know how long it's been. I've gone through probably maybe 4 or 5 of these. Maybe 1 or 2 were my fault, and 1 or 2 is just, it's a wear item. And what they'll do, they'll break, and it's not from me putting too much pressure on there. It's probably from it getting hot or something, and pressure being on it. And you'll see it'll wear a crease there. I'm sure you can't see it, but just take my word for it, there's a crease. And what you can do, if it wears a crease, like right there, you can turn it over and run it right there. And then you can turn it over later. I'm talking about a long time. Run it there, and then run it there. So in other words, you can rotate this thing, and you can actually, if you can see, you can see I have rotated it. Then when this side gets bad, or too bad for you to use, all you do is turn it around. So really, and they're expensive. These things are expensive. The whole time I've had this mill, I've never wore out one of these. I might have it chipped a little bit, but I've never, and those chips probably have come from when I broke a blade, or the blade came off or something like that. But I've never wore any of them out. I change them out, and it's probably maybe it's a waste of money, but I still change them out. I save them. I put them back in the package. Even this thing here is almost seemingly as worthless as it is. There might be a time when I really end up buying and I need one. I don't want to sit here and wait 10 days to order one from Norwood. And they're real simple. All you have to do is get your book out and do it the way the book says. Just loosen those things up. Whenever I put the blade back on, I will then adjust the in and out, the up and the down. And you can see, even though these are not bad by any means, I'm still going to change them. I'll take them and clean them up, these here. And you can see that one's, well, you probably can't see it, but it's chipped right there. And I'm sure that's from the blades coming off or breaking. I break a lot of blades. I run them until I break them. I'll sharpen them 3 or 4 times. If I see a fracture in it, a crack, you can see them. If you pay attention, you can see the cracks in them. I'll go ahead and break it and throw it away myself. But most of the time they break on the mill. One thing while I'm here, one thing to watch, can see how, you can see my fingers sticking through there. These things, this is plastic. Mine are gone. Mine are shot. These things will rub up, and I don't know how they get out of shape. I'm not sure, but they do somewhat get out of shape. And so be watching for if it starts rubbing. Look for why. These belts, I have probably changed the belts, I don't know, maybe 4 times at least. Probably at least 4 times. One time, and when I change them both at the same time. One time might have been my fault or something I did wrong. And the other times are just, they wear out. What you can do when you're running it, to tell if your belts, it's hard to tell unless you stand in front of the mill with the mill running, which of course, you know, everybody would probably advise you against that. If you look right through here from the back, from where you're pushing, if you look right through here, you will see this belt drop down. I'm going to say maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch or something like that. It will drop down. And what happens there, that's not so bad in itself, I don't guess. But what happens, sawdust will get underneath the belt and this wheel, and it'll start building up. And so it'll start throwing things off, and the blade will start running bumpy. But if you watch, if you see this belt coming off when you're running, if you see it dripping down, still running perfect now. It's not run, every now and then it might throw the blade off, but it still will run perfect. If you see this belt dripping down, in my mind, it's time to change the belts, and that's usually when I change the belts. And that's about it. Be sure to keep it greased. Don't over grease it. I mean, there's no point in being silly on it. But I grease mine, and I have put some hours on this joker. It doesn't have an hour meter, but I've often wished it did have an hour meter. Watch your belts. Watch these things. Watch for sparks. If you see sparks, it's going to be coming from this blade hitting these things. Either they're going to be broke or something. Just go ahead and change them out. And because, like I said, these here, even though these are good, I'll wash them up. I'll clean them up. I'm still, being as I'm here doing it, I'm still going to change all 6 out. There's 3 on each side. That's all I had to say.